I'm D. Watkins here with Salon.com, and today I'll be joined by Screen Actors Guild Award-winning actor Dulé Hill. You know him from Psych, Suits, West Wing, Ballers, The Wonder Years, and today we'll be talking about his new PBS show, The Express Way with Dulé Hill. Welcome.
Glad to be here.
Thank you for coming on, man. Congratulations.
pleasure.
Congratulations. I love the show. I learned a lot. I would like for you to start off by telling us just how it came about.
The show, The Express Way with Dulé Hill, came about because Chris Howard and Josh Jacobs, who are two exec producers on the show, came to Jasmine, my wife Jasmine Simon and I, with this nugget of an idea of how does dance affect culture? Mm-hmm. I'm a tap dancer, so they knew I was passionate about dance. And then thankfully we were able to connect with Danny Lee and the team over at Calico. And Danny had a magnificent idea of expanding the lens beyond dance to include all forms of expression, all forms of art. And that's when we realized we had something special, that if we can take an expressway throughout the country, meeting people who are using their art, their gifts, their creative forms of expression to make the world a better place, to empower their communities and to find their voice, then maybe there might be an interesting and inspiring story to be told.
Oh, absolutely. I do want to get into dance and just your background and philosophy on that. But I don't want to miss this. You've done theater, you've done film, you've done television. What was it like? What is it like making the shift to host?
That was different. That was it was. I believe on life's journey, you got to always stay open to something new. I think if you keep just doing what's familiar to you, then it can get redundant, and to me, you're not living to the fullest at that point. So the idea of stepping into hosting was a new challenge and a new genre that I had not experienced before. I'm not really somebody who likes to get up and talk in front of people, but I am somebody who's always interested in people. And as I went on this journey, that's the thing that I really enjoyed, was connecting with people along the way and hearing their story. I think oftentimes in life, and especially in this country, we don't lean in and listen to each other enough. I want to tell you so much about me, but I don't want to sit back and lean in and listen to you.
Right.
And when you take the time to do that, you actually learn so much if you're curious about people. Not with, looking at them with judgment in your eyes, but really if you're just listening to, like, I want to know about you. And that along this journey was the thing that I really enjoyed the most.
I read an article about like the levels of listening. Like level one is like you're just trying to answer, so you don't really hear shit. Level two, like you're listening, but you think you have to respond even if you don't really have to.
Right.
But like the goal was to be like a level 3 listener, where like you don't say anything, you just let a person vent, and you hear them, and if the opportunity comes, I don't know, man. I think I float between like 2 and 3.
I'm probably somewhere around 2 in my life, depending. I mean, if you ask my wife, she's probably like, "No, you're 1."
1. Yeah, my wife would be like, "You're 1." Do they have a negative? Do they have a negative option?
But it is I do feel that I'm the best version of myself when I'm at level 3, because I learned so much. My understanding is broadened. My perception of things, the scope it expands when I take the time to listen instead of just trying to tell somebody about a situation, especially if you're talking about you. Like going on the expressway, it was really just listening to people's stories. And the stories throughout this country are so powerful. And you would think, okay, being in California, they don't really have anything, that connects them to Appalachia, or Appalachia doesn't have anything that connects them to Chicago. And Chicago definitely doesn't have anything to connect themselves to Texas. But then when you take the time to travel the vast lands of this country, and you get a chance to hear about the vast stories and the diverse journeys that we go on, you realize we're all pretty much seeking after the same thing. We want to be seen. We want to add value to the world around us. We want to know that our existence means something, that we're not just here by happen chance, and we want to know that we're powerful. Like there's a gift that's inside of us. There's something that's always burning inside of us. And I think when we realize that, if we honor that and we share that, we can actually make this world a better place. We can make our communities a better place. We can make each other better just by doing that.
We have so much in common, but we're taught to like act like we're so different, or like we're sold these ideas that we're different. And I think you made the world smaller with this. And
that's what I gotta say. I love that about the show, because even myself, we were filming, in Knox County, which is right next to Hazard County in Pennsylvania. You would for myself, you would think like there's nothing here for me that's going to, for me. I'm not going to be welcome here. There's nothing that I can learn from this place. But it touched me so much. And then you realize that if you get away from the macro and you lean in, it's like, oh no, me and you can connect right here. Me and I get you and you get me. And actually understand you and like you a lot. I can connect to your passion and connect to your struggles. And I think we need to do that more often. It's for example, going to Chicago, I would think that, oh yeah, I would understand this. But then I realized I understood them both. And you're very similar, So maybe if we can keep talking more as a nation as a whole, maybe starting within individuals and then in our communities and then the nation as a whole, then maybe we can bridge this gap that's been going on for so long.
That's what's powerful about the show, because even like, I'm from East Baltimore. I would never think anything about, I'm not thinking about what's happening in Appalachia, but when you talk about addiction and pain and families who don't want to see their family members suffer, and I think you bring it all together because you're highlighting the transformative power of art. Do you remember the first time you put a pair of tap shoes on?
I don't know if I remember the first time, but I remember early on when I had to do my first little performance at my dance school in Jersey. I went to Marie Wiley School of Dance in East Orange, New Jersey, and it was time to dance in front of, I guess, the class and the parents and everything, and I didn't want to do it. I was about 3 years old. And I went to the dance teacher's office, Marie Wiley, and I hid under the table. And I was back there. I was like, I'm not doing it. And I remember my mom, and I called her Aunt Marie, had to bribe me with a blow pop. You give a kid some sweets, he gonna do anything.
It's wild saying blow pop kind of. You saying it makes my teeth hurt.
You say.
Because I'm not 3 years old.
Right.
So it's different.
But I was like, blow pop, okay.
Yeah,
and I remember going out to doing a tap, step, And then I remember at a young age performing at Newark Symphony Hall for the dance recital. I do remember when I met, got a chance to work with Harold Nicholas of the Nicholas Brothers and Hinton Battle, and seeing what they were doing. I do remember that inspiration that came to me of, wow, I didn't realize that this dance had such a vast history and it could reach those levels. When I was about 10 years old on the national tour of the Tap Dance Kid, we did a night where we watched all of the Nicholas Brothers old films, and I'm sitting right there next to Harold and he's telling me about the history of it and this and that. And it blew my mind that here goes Harold, who I know is Harold, and he's on the screen doing all this, doing these magnificent feats of artistry. And to realize that we can do that really this is a black man who looks like me who did that. And then Gregory, I met Gregory Hines during that time and realized that's a black man who looks like me who can do all this. White Nights was coming out and everything like that, and seeing Hinton Battle, who's a black man who looks like me. That started to allow me to believe that, understand that I can do that too.
You performed with Savion Glover, which also he made it look so cool.
Oh yeah, Save definitely.
He was great.
He always makes it look cool. And it's funny because Savion and I pretty much started together in the Tap Dance Kid. But seeing what he does with his feet, it truly amazes me. Every time I get a chance to see him dance, I'm always like, you are just on another level of genius. I think I'm a good tap dancer. I would not consider myself a great tap dancer. But Savion is a phenomenally wonderful tap dancer. He's a tap master. Dormisha Sumbry, Jason Samuel Smith.
If you battle another tapper, you would probably win, right?
Would I win?
Yeah.
I'm gonna cut you a little bit. I don't know if I'm gonna win. If it's like Jared Grimes and me, Jared Grimes is probably gonna get me. Ideli Cassell, she's probably gonna get me. Michelle Dorrance is probably gonna get me. But I'm gonna slice you a little bit.
Anyone who's not like a pro, you should be able to win. If you're not like if it's like Al Roker or some shit.
Al, I think I'll get out. I think I'm fairly confident I'll get out.
And then he comes out with all these moves that you didn't know.
You see what I'm saying?
I've
been training my whole life for this.
I've been waiting for this.
Every rainy day.
It's such a strong legacy. It's like you said, a strong black legacy. Are the kids still tapping? You feel like is it still like?
It's not as popular as it was in terms of pop culture, but if you go throughout the country and go throughout the world, it's spreading so far and wide. I'm really amazed at how much dance is out there, how much tap is living and thriving. And these young cats are good too. What they can do with their feet really blows me away.
you've been working consistently as an actor since you were young, since you were a child. And on this show, you're talking to so many different aspiring artists, like people who want to make it as artists. Some of them are waiting for that opportunity or pushing towards that opportunity, or trying to figure out even like the business of it or what to do next. What do you think they're going to take away from the show?
Well, here's the thing. On the show, I'm actually not really talking to folks who are looking to go to some other height. These people,
you don't feel that way though?
No, I think the people on the show, they're passionate about what they're doing, and for me, it actually reminded me of why I'm an artist in the first place. Because as you get into television and film, you kind of get caught up in the celebrity of it and the magnitude of it. But the people that I met were trying to affect where they are right there. I'm passionate about this. This is my square. This is my circle of influence. And I'm trying to give all of myself to influence my circle. I'm not trying to be over there and be George Clooney or Denzel, or even James Brown or somebody. I'm trying to do this. Now, there were some artists out there who obviously would, wherever it goes, it goes. But the majority of the people who I met were just trying to express themselves and influence, their community.
No, you're right. The reward should be in the art. And maybe it's the dirty little capitalist inside of me that's always thinking
but I feel you though.
Gotta eat.
Yeah, I feel you though. Again, for me, it was a lovely reminder of why you're an artist.
Absolutely.
Because I get caught up in it too. It's like, doing the things that are splashy and out there and going to have the farthest reach. But I'd appreciate, I guess, that recalibration to be like, why do you do what you do? But going back to the other question of what do you think people would take from the show? People who are aspiring, I think that what they would take from the show is that you have to be passionate about what you do. If you're not passionate about it, it doesn't matter. That is the driving force beyond anything, being passionate in your pursuit of what you want to accomplish. That's what's going to be the wind in your sails. That's what's going to propel you forward.
How do you game plan for next season? Like, where do you want to go? Or is that even in the conversation yet?
Well, there is that conversation happening. The country is so vast. I think we can go anywhere. I think you can spin the map or flip the pages of the map of the country and put your finger and say, hey, let's go there. And you're going to find a dynamic artist who is using their gift to create space. I would love to be able to go down to New Orleans just because of the history there. I would love to be able to go to Alaska to see what's going on there. I would love to be able to go to Hawaii. I would love to be able to go to, say, the Dakotas somewhere.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's so many stories to be told. If we could go to any of those places, I would be
It's like a wild, like an intense spoken word community in the Dakotas.
I hear
in
that.
North Dakota, yeah. No, in South Dakota. One of my friends he's like, I got a speaking gig. I'm going to, South Dakota. And I'm like, to do what? And he's like, yo, spoken word. And I'm like, for transparency, my good friend, I think his poetry is terrible. But he got a speaking gig.
You never know. But see, in season 2, if you see us in Dakota getting down with some spoken word artists out there, then you will know where it started from. Because that's the thing, you wouldn't normally think of that. And that's what I love about the show is it's taking these things that you wouldn't normally think go together. You wouldn't normally think a senior citizens burlesque group in Chinatown. You'd be like, what?
What?
And then you get a chance to meet them, you're like, oh my gosh. You wouldn't think about a deaf dancer being, Shaheem Sanchez.
He was fired. Yeah, he was fired, yeah.
You wouldn't think about a blind painter down in Texas. You wouldn't think about recovering drug addicts making stringed instruments in Appalachia. And then these instruments are making the music of the region. You'd be like, this is my man, Bassel Almadani, up there in Chicago. He's a first generation Syrian American, and he plays funk and soul. And he used that music to highlight the plight of the Syrian people and the tragedies that are going on there. I love the juxtaposition of things or the dichotomy of things where you say, this doesn't go with this. And that's what I think in season 2 we would explore some more. Where do you want to go? Because you're not thinking of,
No, we're definitely looking forward to it. So, Something else I wanted to ask you in regards to being an artist and craft. In Ballers, you play a hard-nosed football coach who seems like he would never be in a situation to meet a guy like Gus from Psych or Alex Williams on Suit, right? So some of these characters are bossy, while remaining principled, or ambitious, or could even be cutthroat. Where do you meet your characters, and what do you do artistically to transform into these people?
Well, that's a good question. You know, a lot of times I just walk around with the idea of who this person is, and I don't really have a step-by-step plan. It's really a spiritual thing, an emotional thing. I say, who is this dude? Why is this person the way they are? That's really the first question I ask. Why are they the way that they are? Why is Gus the way that he is? Why is Alex Williams the way that he is? Why is Larry Seifert the way that he is? And once I start tapping into that, I can understand him a little bit. You know, I played a character in this movie, Slight, years ago, and I have to understand, why is he like that? Mm-hmm. Because it goes back to leaning in and listening. Because if I understand why you are the way that you are, then I can understand you. And once I can say for a character, once I can understand why I am the way that I am, and I can understand me, then I can play him in any scenario. Because I understand the lens in which he looks through life.
Yeah, as it seems like there's some deeper conversations happening with the writers sometimes to just kind of get those backstories, or?
Yeah, there's definitely deeper conversations. Trying to do research on my own in terms of general manager stories, say for Ballers, just knowing some of the histories of different general managers, knowing some of the stats out there, how many black general managers are out there, knowing some of that history, because that will inform a lot.
Yeah, he got fired and shit.
You see what I'm saying?
But you had great posture while you were like packing the box.
Well, he still was a baller though. He was like, okay. I think if we would have more seasons, you would have seen him come back around and be like, okay, now I got you in check. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. It seemed like a fun show to work on.
It was a fun show. I mean, I love the show because I met my wife on the show. Jasmine Simon.
Amazing.
Yeah, she played Julie Green on the show. She was married to Omar Benson.
I saw that. I didn't know you guys actually met on that show.
Oh yeah. A funny thing about that, we met on the pilot. And I'm always in awe. I don't believe in coincidences, but I am always in awe of how pieces come together to make something happen. She was doing the pilot. She was only supposed to be there for a couple of days, film her stuff in the beginning, and then go back to LA. She got there, the days went long, so they had to push her stuff to near the end of the pilot. Mm-hmm. She was there for 2 weeks and wasn't doing anything. I was doing a show on Broadway at the time, and I only had 1 day off of work a week, which is Monday. So I flew down Sunday, was gonna work this Monday on the pilot, and then fly back to go hit after midnight. Jasmine was so tired of just hanging around in a hotel room, not knowing anybody down there in Miami, that she called production and said, can somebody pick me up to bring me to set so I can have lunch with the cast, because I'm really getting like cabin fever here. She came, she sat down. Of course, I knew Omar Benson Miller already. She knew Omar, she came and sat down. And I was like, oh wow, you're Jasmine, oh yeah. And we have a mutual friend in Saladin Patterson. So then that's how we first met. And then I took a picture of her to send to Saladin to be like, look who I met.
Right.
And he was like, she's a nice girl, stay away from her. but if she had done her work at the beginning and went back to LA, I never would have met her because we didn't have any scenes.
That's an amazing story.
We didn't have any scenes together. So from that moment, we were friends for like 6 months, and then, well, we knew each other, but we knew each other at a distance for those first 6 months. Then we were friends for a year before we started dating. If I was in Miami or in LA or New York or vice versa, we would go out, we would have dinner, we would talk. And then a year and a half later, we ended up, like from the time I met her to a year and a half later, we started dating, and then the rest is history. Our son Levi, I call him a true baller's baby.
Right.
Because without all these things happening, I don't know if you come into existence.
Wow.
It's truly amazing.
When I met my wife, I didn't meet her on the set. I met her at like ridiculous nightclub. However, it's called Mirage. It's called Medusa now. Okay. It was called Mirage back then, right?
Mirage.
And funny thing about it is one of the first things we did when we really started kicking it was watch Ballers.
Oh, I hear that. Oh, dig it, man.
So happy I had HBO.
You see what I'm saying? You see? Ballers bringing people together. That's how, you know what I'm saying?
But you and your wife both act. How do you guys handle the family work-life balance?
I think in show business, you have to approach it like jazz. There's no definitives. You have to be malleable. Like with jazz, there's certain structures, but then there's a lot of room, like depending on what you feel in the moment, that's where you go. And I think that's how we approach our life. We have our structure, we have our home, but if you get a job next week, then we'll make it work. If I get a job next week, we'll make it work. If you're writing, writing a script, and okay, that's what you're doing. If she also writes children's books. If you have to go out there and go out there and talk about the children's book as it's coming out, then we make it work. Mm-hmm. I think it's always, I'm a big believer of let's make it work. We're both passionate artists. We both want to create space. We both want to use our art to just affect the world. So when we have the opportunities come that can work, we make it work. Simple as that.
It takes optimism.
You have to, because otherwise you can look at the complications of everything and say that can't happen. That can't. Like last 2 seasons when I was doing with the Wonder Years, I started Wonder Years, and our daughter was in her senior year. Kennedy was in her senior year of high school. Levi was just starting to go to preschool. How do you make it work? Well, for me, it was like, okay, I can make this work, but I need to be able to get on the plane every Friday. Mm-hmm. And for her, it's a give and take too, because I'm going to do this. Obviously, that's going to be more, I guess, responsibility on her during the week. But that's what teamwork is.
That's what it's about.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know that I couldn't do what I do without her, and vice versa. I think we collaborate very well, and we're always willing to lean in and support each other along the way. And I think that's what you have to keep doing.
One thing I wanted to ask you about your big breakout role on West Wing, mm-hmm. Playing opposite Martin Sheen, and just your introduction into the world for so many people. Like obviously you were putting in work before that, mm-hmm. but so many people met you on West Wing, and our country has flipped so many different ways politically since that show aired. What do you think of that role and its influence on politics and culture now? Looking back.
With the West Wing as a whole, I always say I wish it didn't resonate so much today. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it does. I wish that we could look at the West Wing and feel like it's very archaic and the themes are so yesterday. But unfortunately, it doesn't. It still rings true today, which also tells me we have not moved that much forward. Mm-hmm. And I think that is not a good thing for our country. I think we need to challenge ourselves to go further and expand and grow. I feel the character and the show as a whole allowed people to take a different perspective of government and how things move, to realize that these are, one, just people. They're people who are like you and me, and they're just passionate about our country, and they're really just trying to make the best choices. At least that's what it should be. That's what the West Wing at least inspired inside of us. And I think it helped inspire hope mm-hmm. For our nation to kind of set a bar of what we could be. I think obviously we've not hit that over quite some time. And I think hopefully one day we will. But I was truly honored to be a part of the show. Working with that cast, and Martin especially showed me through action how to approach this business, to never lose my humanity, to always see how the value in everyone that I come across, because this business especially can really allow you to turn everything inwards mm-hmm. and just, it's all about me. And Martin is the exact opposite of that. He's always been, at least from the time I've met him, always been that. And that has been very inspirational for me over the course of my career.
You're doing great work. Congratulations on the show, and thank you for coming on.
No, I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Till next time, brother.
Thank you for watching Salon Talks. Be sure to subscribe as we feature some of your favorite artists, authors, and more. And while you're here, you might as well watch another video by clicking right here.